some bite down boxing talk. I was talking on some other sports world topics earlier, racism, sports, and the NFL and whatnot. Of a really good movie that I. The name of that movie was Sylvie's Love, Sylvie apostrophe S, starring Namdi Asamoah, former NFL football player, and Tessa Thompson, who you might know from Creed as Adonis's girlfriend. Check that out. Um, Boxing is this sport. I'm really starting to realize just how badly nobody cares about boxing, and the interest that is in boxing uh, in the United States. A lot of the interest. I'm just getting a real feel for what moves the needle, and while we could come out here and say what boxing can't deliver and what it won't deliver, and spending an exorbitant amount of time talking about fights that can't be made and won't be made without giving any consideration to the budget, or to the budget for fights, COVID-19, platforms, promotional affiliations, and all of that, without filling in all the blanks and connecting all the dots, crossing the T's, dotting all the I's and everything. You can spend a lot of time chasing your tail in that circle. In the meantime, there's a lot of positive things that are happening. But again, what I see is nobody cares about that. And boxing has to do its job in figuring out how to make those fights that people spend all this time, talking about and arguing over and pointing the finger at who can't make them happen. So I really don't want to. I don't really want to counter program that, for lack of a better words. I don't really want to challenge that or continue to try to point out a different perspective, another way to look at all of that stuff, as much as I do want to spend time on talking about what's possible and what is going to happen, what's the fights that are signed, the activity, the investments that's already being made. I put out an article on www.bitedownboxing.com, putting the first quarter schedule out there, mainly just hitting on the world championship fights that are already on the books. Again, I understand that there's a small crowd that's really interested in those fights and the storylines, or what's the future implications of those fights. I get it. It's a small number of us that are concerned about those. But being that I have this website, I got to talk about what is actually scheduled. Before I get into that, I'll touch base really quickly on the first, and I guess why I'm talking to this, because you might have a commitment right now, whether it's a monthly commitment or you've signed up for something for a year in DAZN's annual plan or yearly plan. You might have paid your $100 already for some fights that happened in the last 3 months, and you might have had some concerns about, are you going to get your money's worth? What's going on with the money that you already have on the table? You might be paying ESPN Plus. You might have a subscription to a monthly subscription to Showtime, and you're on the fence of, you're looking for how do I need to discontinue my subscription? But like I said, some people in boxing, some of the organizers, some of the people who supply fights, who supply the product, some of them are doing things right now to at least show us some signs of how they're invested for 2021. And I just think that's important. If you're going to sit here complaining about what can't get done and what's not going to get done, definitely acknowledge what is being put together. What will you be able to tune in to and catch and watch? And like I said, if you have, maybe you do need to cancel your Showtime subscription. Maybe you can skip a month of DAZN and pick it back up in February. You know, these are kind of the things, the decisions that we have to make right now, based on or depending on what your level of interest in the sport is. Personally, not even from the money that I already have invested or what I've signed up for, what I'm committed to. Personally, man, I like the fact that I see the suppliers of the sport. I like that I see them working. I like to see that they're, we're not out of the woods yet with the whole COVID situation and the pandemic, and fans aren't returning to fights, anytime soon. But it's a great signal to me that with that not happening, with no real positive information from the vaccinations and whatnot, no timeline being provided for when fans might be able to return to fights. Some people are already busy doing all of the major players are already doing something. That's a good sign for boxing. That's a good sign for boxing fans. Again, these aren't the fights that everybody wants to see. They aren't the fans that are going to attract casuals. They aren't going to generate a lot of buzz, but they mean something. And some fighters will be able to get a check. You know, some of these guys haven't received a check in over a year. So for me, it's promising that some of these guys can get back to work. And a handful of these fights that I'm getting ready to run down, there is the next fight that's likely to happen is a big deal. But again, if people can't attend fights, one thing about it, you saw Bob Arum say at the end of that Maloney and Franco fight, you saw Bob Arum be really adamant about we're going to get the F out of Vegas. He was pissed off. They didn't do what he wanted him to do with the replay situation. And they returned the title back to Franco. And Bob was like, we're going to get the F out of here. Well, he's already got a fight scheduled for 2021 back in Vegas. I believe Showtime will be extending its residency in Uncasville, Connecticut at the Mohegan Sun. So, again, a lot of people say a lot of things, but people have to are still continuing to fight to maintain and keep boxing afloat, to get some of these fighters some work, and to try to put on events that will keep the sport afloat until fans can come back. There's some idea of when fans can begin to come back to the fights, to venues. And then if you have any common sense, just a low level of common sense, if you can add 3 + 3, you'll start to understand that a lot of these fights that people are upset about, people can start planning again on when we can actually put those fights together. Right now, I mean, you can sit up and make a video every day about 2 or 3 fights that have no way to happen. It's impossible to make them happen. Nobody's going to call anybody to discuss that fight. No offer is being put together. No venue is. It's a lot of stuff that is just on hold right now, because everybody that knows anything understands that our hands are really tied right now. There's only so much that can be done. But anyway, getting into the first part of the video, I was going to talk about Ryan Garcia and Luke Campbell. It's a, I don't know if this is officially if this is a WBC eliminator or it's just for the interim WBC lightweight title. Again, people get all confused about these titles. We're trying to find somebody for Devin Haney to fight, somebody that we give a damn about. Interesting thing here is that Ryan Garcia is really on record in saying that he's not necessarily all that interested in facing Devin Haney because he feels like he's more of a draw than Devin Haney. One thing that's kind of not evidence to that, but a reason why he believes that is because his fight this weekend is actually fans can attend the fight. I haven't heard anything about tickets. This is what kills me about Golden Boy and being one of the organizations that has fights scheduled for 2021. Golden Boy has not even held a press conference this week. I don't even know how you could be excited to be a Golden Boy fighter right now. Here's the new face, the current face of Golden Boy boxing. They haven't even had a press conference for this fight. I heard Eddie Hearn talking about, he was on the radio yesterday talking about trying to get on a plane when he could get to the States to come over here and to support his guy, Luke Campbell. But Golden Boy, as an organization, one of the top 4 organizations in the sport, nobody over there has even organized. I've been on all these Zoom calls the last 6 months. I've been on Showtime Zoom calls for fights. The Charlos, Angelo Leo, Tank Davis, and Leo Santa Cruz, Spence, and Danny Gar. I've been on all these Zoom calls the past 6 months. Boxing has changed like the rest of the world. We can't have the media here in person. We're gonna do these Zoom calls. DAZN, I was on the DAZN Zoom calls for a number of different fights. ESPN, I was on the Zoom press conferences for Teofimo Lopez and Lomachenko. Here it is, the face of your, the new face of your organization as a promotional outfit. You haven't even had a single damn nobody even knows about this fight. To be honest, it's Ryan Garcia and Virgil Ortiz Jr. Those are kind of the new faces with the departure of Canelo Alvarez. It's just Saturdays, Ryan Garcia and Luke Campbell, and nobody knows about it. Looking at the fight though, we're hoping that Luke Campbell is the opponent that can let us know whether or not how excited should we really get about Ryan Garcia? The interesting thing is that it's been 2 years now. What was that? May of 2018. So over a year and a half of Jason Velez when him and Garcia went to a fought to a decision. The 2 fighters before that were knockouts for Ryan Garcia, and then since that fight with Jason Velez, he's knocked out a handful of guys as well. The last couple didn't even make it out of the first round. The time that it took to get those knockouts didn't even add up to a first round. And Francisco Fonseca, I think it was his name. We thought we were going to see something then. Fonseca having gone the distance or didn't he go the distance with Tank or went late into the fight? But we'd seen Fonseca with a couple of people, and we're expecting to get some answers that night on Ryan Garcia. He knocks him out in the first round early. So Luke Campbell is a guy that we expect to come in and get some rounds in, maybe even be able to get up off the ground if in fact he does get knocked down. Once we've seen we've seen Campbell, 2012 Olympic gold medalist at the London Games. we've seen Campbell in against Linares. We've seen him in against Lomachenko. Uh, it's our hope that it's an entertaining fight. But again, it was a while ago since we've seen Ryan Garcia go some rounds and face some adversity and not look great. I don't think Campbell is going to allow him to look great. I don't know if I can really say that Campbell is going to win this fight or knock Garcia out and whatnot. But good height, educated offense, enough grit. He's confident enough. He's seen everything. He's definitely not an opponent that can go in and be blown out, in my opinion. He definitely can't be simply blown out by Ryan Garcia. I don't foresee that happening. But I don't even really know if I have a winner in this fight because until I just started really looking up some stuff on this fight, I really forgot that it was even happening Saturday. So I'm gonna take Garcia to move on, and get the victory. He's been over there with Eddie Reynoso working alongside. It's a lot of guys right now. We see Andy Ruiz over there in camp with Reynoso, and I don't know if the Frank Sanchez heavyweight is over there as well. So they got quite a cast of guys in the gym to get these guys a bunch of different looks. And Garcia has been under the wing of Canelo, picking up a lot of stuff, learning how to be a true professional. Getting ready for this moment right here. So I would expect him to come out and look pretty good. I saw something, I don't know if it was Instagram or something. Looks like he's in great shape. I'm expecting it to be a good fight. I've seen some talk of a fourth or fifth round knockout. And that's the thing. I really don't know what Ryan Garcia's entire repertoire is about. I think Campbell is going to be, give enough offensively where he can't just sit back and only look to counterpunch and land that left hook. I'm expecting him to have to get further in his bag and show us a little bit more of what he is as an all-around fighter. That's what I'm hoping to see. So again, I can't come on here try to be no expert and tell y'all in the 8th round this and the 9th round that. I don't know because I haven't seen enough of Ryan Garcia to really say anything with any confidence. I think he gets the victory one way or another. Again, I don't think Campbell is so much of a slouch that you can just sit back, give away a couple of rounds, looking for one shot and loading up, trying to load up. So I'm interested to see. Does Garcia have a good body attack? One good thing here for him is that Campbell, I don't know if they're separated by half an inch or an inch. They're both relatively tall, taller lightweights. So that's a good thing. I think it's going to be a pretty good fight. Another fight on there to keep. And then let's look at the card. We have Franchon Cruz on there. Again, inexcusable on Golden Boy's part. And kind of like an issue with boxing in general. And maybe you don't care about women's boxing. I get it. But Franchon Cruz DAZN has a chance to face, she's scheduled to fight Ashley Curry, who doesn't have a good record, to be honest with you. But the interesting thing in here is that Franchon Cruz I believe she has a chance to regain the WBC and WBO titles that she lost in a controversial manner with the whole situation last year with Alejandra Jimenez. Regardless if you like women's boxing or not, DAZN and Golden Boy has done a little bit with the women's game. This could be a world title fight. Franchon Cruz deserves to still be recognized as a world champion, and here she is getting no love or no coverage about her fight. Again, I don't know how you can be on Golden Boy right now and be happy as a fighter. But that's it. Also on this card, youngster Tristan Kalkruth. Again, man, I'm a fighter. I'm fighter first. I'm a fighter fan. I want to see these guys get opportunities to fight and grow and position themselves for title shots if they're worthy of that, if they prove they're worthy of that. Tristan Calcruth, I believe, man, I want to say he's a super. Damn, he's not a cruiserweight, is he? I haven't seen him in so long. But anyway, he's like 5-0, 6-0, young kid. I want to see what his next step is. But it's great to see him. He's only 19 years old, I believe. So it's interesting to see what he can do next. Also on here is Ryan Garcia's brother. He's on the undercard, Sean Garcia. And then on another world title. Well, it's not a world title. It's the regular WBA 130-pound title. Tank Davis has the world title version, the real version, the one that matters. But Rene Alvarado is on here against Roger Gutierrez. The interesting thing here is that for a while, Andrew Canccio was a very interesting fighter after he took apart Machado. When Machado was going somewhere. Under the tutelage of Freddie Roach. So Alvarado, who has like 6 or 8 losses himself, we talk about not giving up on fighters. He pops back up and destroys Andrew Canccio last year. In a 7th round TKO, and really was the end of Canccio on the under the Golden Boy banner. He's now moved over with Top Rank, and interestingly, I don't believe he's fought as part of the the bubble, the fights that took place in the bubble. I don't believe he's been in this year, so I don't really know what's going on with that. But he hasn't made it back to the ring just yet. But Saturday, the dude who knocked him out, Rene Alvarado, and that was a good fight, man. So I'm interested to see what Alvarado does next. Hell. I mean, I would probably take an Alvarado versus Gervonta Davis fight if that came up. At least it's a guy who I've seen before versus some of those other guys that they ran out there before it got to Gamboa and then Leo Santa Cruz. So that's kind of connecting the dots on the card this Saturday. Again, if you did get into the zone for a year, if they are in you for a year and you have some concerns about how your money is looking, because last year I was in the middle of I was vocal about this. I spoke on this. I was in the middle of my year pass last year trying to take advantage of the $8.33 a month versus the $20 a month. I was in for the year and we had the COVID situation and I lost 3.5 months of my DAZN membership. And then when it came time to re-up, the customer service was like, hey, that's not our fault. And I was pissed off. And it came to in October, I want to say, my membership was up and I didn't want to re-up with them. I'm going to be honest with you. I complain about paying for pay-per-views. I'm keeping it a buck here on the situation with DAZN. I was pissed off. I went back and forth with one of the customer service reps online. And they were like, it's nothing we can do. And then came the next set of fights. And I'm looking at the schedule like, man, do I pay this $19.99 for a month? Or if I want to see the Quadras, the Estrada and Quadras with Chocolatito versus Israel Gonzalez. And then the Canelo fight. Parker and Junior 5 was scheduled. They had that whole residency at SSE Arena, Wembley. And it's like, do I pay for 2 single months and be done? Do I go ahead and, because then if they go and put some other stuff on the schedule and I pay $60, well, now I'm missing out on the whole purpose of just going on and buying the year. So anyway, I sat around as long as I could, and then the fight weekend came and I had to re-up, and now they're back in my pockets for $100, and I'm sitting out looking at the schedule like, okay, I did just get a very solid, for $100, I did get a very solid late October, November, December. So I'm somewhat I'm somewhat whole, WHOLE, not whole. I'm somewhat whole, but I want to see, you know, how much additional value am I going to get for my $100? So this, here we get Ryan Garcia, pretty big name in the sport, and we get to see, more about this kid and what this does for him if he's able to be successful. One thing that Luke Campbell, before I get into the rest of the schedule, one thing that Luke Campbell said that I thought was interesting was that he really thought that he was the cause of why Lomachenko was a little reluctant to engage in the first half of the fight against Teofimo Lopez, where he lost his unified titles. The IBF, not the IBF, but the WBC, BO, and BA. Luke Campbell says, I'm the reason why he looked like that, and the reason why he was apprehensive, so on and so forth. And he was like, just kind of talking up his power. We haven't seen the knockouts from Campbell, to suggest that he's a truly heavy-handed dude. But we'll see, man. We'll see. I think it's going to be an entertaining fight. Now, looking ahead, this, like I said, where's your money right now if you're on some kind of long-term situation or if you're paying month to month? I'm going to say right off the rip, one thing for ESPN Plus, I would imagine that you'll continue to see some of the undercards over there as they start putting their schedule together for 2021 in the first quarter. They have Joe Smith Jr. and Maxime Vlasov in February. I'm pretty sure they're coming back before February, though. But I'm sure there'll be some ESPN Plus action over there for that undercard. But what's disappointing is that due to COVID-19, a positive COVID-19 test for Artur Beterbiev, the current unified lightweight champion, he was scheduled to be fighting January 23rd. So maybe that was their January card, top ranking ESPN. Maybe that was their January card, late January. But that card is now postponed because of Beterbiev testing positive for COVID. He was supposed to face Adam Daines. It was a Russian fight. It was a fight that was going to be based in Russia, and it had like a 3 p.m. start time and whatnot. But it was just to get Beterbiev back on the scene and go from there. But that card, like I said, COVID-19, that's gone now. Okay, what we do have coming up. Leo Fo, and then like I said, man, I don't know if people really care about any of this stuff. It's a very small number of a very small fan base that really care about any of these fights. But this is what we have. Those of us that love the action and all the stories and the undercard, the development of young fighters, young champions, and Angelo Leo and Stephen Fulton. That's actually a Wednesday card for a world title fight. Showtime Championship Boxing is rolling out on a Wednesday night. They did this with the Showbox last, this a couple of months ago. They put it on a Wednesday night. I would imagine some people are going to spin that or interpret that as being indicative that it's a lower level fight, even though it's a world title fight. These guys are at super bantamweight. Leo just won the title a couple of months ago against Tremaine Williams. When Showtime resumed boxing, he was the first one back. He was supposed to fight Stephen Fulton then for the vacant title. Fulton came down as a positive for COVID-19. And Williams was elevated up to the main event, and Leo won, and now he's going to fight Fulton. This is really an excellent fight, man. If you don't care what Showtime has going on with this group of fighters at super bantamweight, then that's kind of indicative of the lack of interest in sport. They got a phenomenal lineup over there. almost as deep as what they had a couple of years ago when they were able to do kind of an unofficial tournament with this super welterweight talent. They have 4 or 5 guys over there with Figueroa. I thought that fight was named, to be, now that I think about it. I can't remember who the opponent was. I need to double check that. Just got a little text update. So anyway, also on that card to try to give fans something to be happy about. On the undercard of Leo Fulton. Fulton is an excellent boxer too. Philly guy, slick, confident guy. Not the heaviest handed guy, but slick boxer, can fight inside out, jab well, evasive or elusive, defensively and whatnot. It'll be interesting to see. Leo kind of made me a fan last time out, watching him gradually take over, what's his name? Tremaine Williams. But on that undercard, in the co-main event, is Rais Aleem and Vic Pasillas. That's going to be an interesting one, man, because Aleem is a very skilled boxer. He's 18-0. He might be 30 years old, so it's go time for him. The winner of that co-main event will likely face the winner of Leo and Fulton. Again, what's interesting here is that while some people sit around frustrated and clamoring and not festering, but seething for the fights that won't get made, that nobody's trying to even make, it's fights like this that already have a built-in next fight associated with it. Sometimes you gotta take what you can get. January 30th. Caleb Plant, Caleb Truex. Plant defending his IBF super middleweight title. Obviously, man, a lot of people might have thought Caleb Truex been gone. He is, like the top-rated dude in the IBF. This is how kind of lame middle 168 is a little thin to me. We got some new blood coming in there, but they're a long ways off with Morrell, who you just saw Saturday on Fox, Berlanga, who's trying to step it up in 2021 over on ESPN. And then there's some guys that are even behind them, and Espinos and Pacheco. Those guys are even further behind him. So Plant, Truex, I'm not too hip on what's going on with that undercard, but this looks like this is on PBC on Fox. So again, we've already talked about Showtime Championship Boxing, DAZN this weekend. These guys are coming back to the sport. February, we get into February 13th. I mentioned earlier, Joe Smith Jr. and Maxim Vlasov on ESPN. So ESPN will be back. That's for a vacant WBO title for the light heavyweight. I don't know much about Vlasov, I'll be honest. I will say that Joe Smith Jr. is all action. Of course, he has the great storyline. What's up, Corey Evans? Peace, bro. Looking a little different in Washington this week, isn't it? So much for being optimistic in that number 15 pick, a couple years back. Good to hear from you, though, bro. So yeah, that's it. You got Smith Jr. and Maxime Vlasov on February 13th, but the co-main event, former IBF lightweight champion Richard Commey, who we saw get knocked out in the first round and catapult Teofimo Lopez. Yeah, exactly. Which is crazy because when you go to when people go to even think of suggesting that Haskins was unfairly treated, like, nah, bruh. They did everything they could to get that brother a chance. Like, they went to him needing him to deliver. and he completely dropped the ball. He completely squandered that opportunity, but that's neither here nor there. But Richard Comey will be facing Jackson Marinez. You might have seen Marinez against Rolly Fingers. Rolly Romero. And defeat Rolly Romero on Showtime. But the decision went to Rolly, being the house fighter and whatnot. He knows he didn't win that fight. But Marinez can box. He's a solid boxer. Great comeback fight or opponent for Comey. That's not an easy way to come back. A guy coming off of a first round knockout and needing to reestablish himself. That's not a gimme. I hear talk about the top ranked diet or the top ranked schedule or whatever. That's a challenging fight for Comey. And also, I gotta tip my cap to promoters, man. I just mentioned with Rene Alvarado. I gotta tip my cap to promoters when we see a fighter and they look good or they jump off the screen, they fight well, they're entertaining or something. I gotta give a promoter credit when you go out there and bring them back against somebody else. And now I know who this B-side is. The kid from Carlos Gongora a couple of weeks ago for DAZN. I know who the hell he was when he fought Ali Akhmadov. He knocks Ali Akhmadov off late in the fight. I want to say the 11th round. Super middleweight, another super middleweight. And I saw a tweet out there that they might be signing Gongora. But now I know who Gongora is. So if you bring Gongora back on another card against another super middleweight, I now have an idea of who that dude is. So I gotta pat Top Rank on the back for bringing back Jackson Marinez against Richard Comey. I think that's a pretty decent fight. I'm almost done here. Or hell, am I done here? Oh, also February 13th, back on DAZN. Golden Boy. You never know because Golden Boy doesn't talk to nobody. They don't promote. They're promoters who don't promote. What do you know? From the well, let me not even go there. Jojo Diaz, the IBF super featherweight champion. Jojo Diaz against somebody named Rocky Mauve. A lot of us, you would understand that where the hell is the fight, the rematch against Tevin Farmer. Maybe you don't care about Tevin Farmer. Maybe you don't care about him. But I want to see Diaz. I like Diaz's game, man. An Olympian. A 2012 Olympian is the young Spanish kid from NYC that's been knocking. That's what I just was talking about. Corey Evans. You're talking about Edgar Berlanga. He's been trying to stir it up with Gabriel Rosado, who fought a couple of weeks ago. He's been trying to talk it up online to throw it out there to face Gabriel Rosado for the Puerto Rican Day Parade. I don't know when. I'm assuming that happens in early spring or something like that. And if you don't know who Gabriel Rosado is, he's a journeyman, gatekeeper, professional fighter. Rosado knows how to box. Not a lot of power. Always a reason why he didn't win the fight. He just fought against Danny Jacobs. Probably should have got a decision in that fight. Could have gotten a decision. And that I don't know. I don't. That's an interesting step up fight for Edgar Berlanga because Rosado, with him not being the most powerful guy, it's not like it's very unlikely that he would go in there and wipe the floor with Berlanga and knock him out. And you don't want to see, as a promoter, you don't want to get you asking me about the guy and know who he is. You don't want to mess with his marketability. And, being at 168 with Canelo Alvarez there, is it a chance that Berlanga could be, in a year or year and a half or something? Could he be ready? Possibly. So you don't want to mess this dude up. But Rosado knows his way around the ring. He can probably survive in most fights and test a guy and a young guy. So that it's a lot of things we don't know about Berlanga because, as you just mentioned, he's knocked 16 straight opponents out in the first round, and we're all excited about him. But you don't want to get him. You don't want to tarnish his star, before he has a shot at the world title. So I don't know, but that's who Edgar Berlanga is out there throwing that out there that he would like to face. He's adamant too about stepping up in competition this year. So if they went with Gabriel Rosado, I wouldn't be mad at that matchup. I really wouldn't. Where was I? Getting ready to finish. Jojo Diaz. Yeah. I think either way, even if it's not Gabriel Rosado, I would imagine that his next opponent is going to be somebody who used to be somebody. Either way. So I don't know if he makes it back in the first quarter of 2021, though. Back to Jojo Diaz, though. I like Jojo Diaz's game, man. He can box, good body work, brings a certain level of excitement to the game, and whatnot. I like JoJo. So it's good to see him back on February 13th. Also on February 13th is a world title fight in Patrick Teixeira against Brian Castano. I'm imagining both of those fights are on the same card. It wasn't really the email that I received kind of didn't put them out there as the same event, but I'm imagining that's what that is. Teixeira is pretty, an interesting guy. He's one of the other few remaining faces over at Golden Boy Promotions. But Castano coming over, I've only seen him a couple of times. I think he's been in against Ears Larry Lara. The only interesting thing in that, not the only interesting, but the one interesting thing there beyond that fight is if Teixeira wins, is there any push for an undisputed fight between Jermell Charlo and Teixeira if he was to win? Or if Castano wins, that makes it easy for there to be an undisputed fight. What I was thinking about. Castano, I believe, is on the PBC roster. So either way, at the end of that fight, because right now, if you're looking, what can Jermell Charlo even plan for the next 12 months? If Teixeira wins this fight, defends his title and keeps it, what does Jermell Charlo do? Who does he get ready for? What does he train for? What does he look forward to? And that becomes a concern to me, because if you don't give fighters, you let some of these guys go without a schedule, and get away from the game. You don't know what the hell could happen. Now, and Charlo's hasn't really been an off the field issue kind of guy. Stays in phenomenal shape, him and his brother. But with him being one of the standout performers in 2020, I want to see the dude have something on the docket. And then beyond that, if you can make, like I said, even if Teixeira wins, I think the PBC needs to push to get that undisputed fight in to get his dude something to do. Everybody else at 154 is nowhere near ready for Jermell. So, got to do something for the guy. Lastly, my last one. Actually, I missed this already. This would have been January 30th, actually. I know. January 30th. I know Sergey Kovalev is the lowest form of human being in boxing, pretty much. I get it. I would let the authorities do what they need to do to address his off the field stuff. Somehow he's still a free man. He has a fight. But the interesting thing about this fight is Bek the Bully Melakuziev is a very raw fighter, a newcomer and whatnot. And he's stepping up to face this guy in Kovalev, who just, a year and a half ago or whatever, 18 months ago was really considered a big threat in the sport. And prior to that was a pound for pound guy and, one of the feared punchers in the game. Now he's a guy who we saw get slapped around by Anthony Yard, and then like 4 days later by Canelo Alvarez on the zone. So I'm just being facetious right there. But I don't know what I haven't been a Kovalev fan for a minute and whatnot. I'm assuming the guy's fighting on, even though he just got a real bag against Canelo when he was knocked out 2 Novembers ago, or 2 Novembers ago, or December. They fight in November 2019. But Beck the Bully, I really haven't seen a lot of stuff from Beck the Bully that jumps off the screen for me, but he is undefeated. He's coming along, and he's stepping up. Most guys, 10 fights in, whatever it is, 12 fights in, you aren't facing a guy with the history like Kovalev. But this also lets us know that Kovalev, the way that the fight ended against Canelo, the fact that he needed a walk-off home run, basically, or a Hail Mary to defeat Yard, he's just out here going through the motions. And, hopefully he doesn't look as bad as James Kirkland did this past weekend. Or maybe it'd be, what do they call that? Maybe it would be karma if he got an ass whipping like that by Beck the Bully Melikuziev. So anyway, and I don't even have much more to say about Beck the Bully. That's the fight. So like I said, man, what I was really trying to talk about was, we can sit here and talk about what boxing isn't doing, how it's trash, and be mad about the fights that we know, that we should know, can't be made. Or we can sit here and look at mid-level boxing, or mid-major boxing, as I sometimes refer to it. We can find some solace in the fact that the suppliers are investing something in the sport to keep it afloat until some of those bigger fights can realistically be discussed and be planned for. Like I said, man, I sit here and get these lives in my recommendations, and we're talking about fights that can't even be made 6 and 7 times a day. Like, yeah, you're frustrated. You're fueling your own frustration talking about stuff that cannot happen. Like, how ignorant is that? Isn't that the definition of insanity, to continue to do or to continue to talk about the same thing? Like, the people that people are angry with and railing out against, they're not even thinking about doing anything on behalf of those fights, because people with decent common sense understand the current status of things. So anyway, man, I got notes written all over the place. That's why this isn't going as smoothly as I thought. March 13th. Let me make a little note here really quickly. The one thing that we can celebrate, and we should really celebrate in boxing, so you only get a little bit here and there. They only sprinkle a little. You only get a little love from this sport as a fan, as a diehard fan. You only get a little love from this sport every so often. And March 13th, to close out the first quarter, is a phenomenal fight. If you can't get up for Juan Francisco Estrada and Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, which was streamed live on the Zone, if you can't get up for that, then I don't know what to talk about. You just saw in November, that was one of the reasons why I went back and re-upped with the Zone. All of those fights that were right in a row or a couple of weeks apart, that's what started it all off, was their doubleheader with these two guys headlining it in separate events. Was Juan Francisco Estrada, probably like anywhere from number 6 to number 8 on most pound for pound lists. Just a dude. Again, we talk about don't give up on fighters for losing. Here's a guy with 3 losses that's a pound for pound performer right now, and that's from regrouping, rebounding. Actually lost to Chocolatito like 8 years ago, but that's him staying in the gym, getting better and better and better, fighting, Sor Rungvisai 2 times, fighting Quadras a couple of times, and just developing and becoming one of the must-watch fighters in the game. Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, you should know his story. Has kind of risen like a phoenix, after being torn apart by Sor Rungvisai, suffering some personal losses. I think his trainer passed away, his longtime trainer passed away, and just got demolished by Sor Rungvisai in the rematch. I mean, just got absolutely just manhandled and destroyed by Sor Rungvisai in the rematch. But now to work his way back to take apart the Galahad cat, to beat the brakes off of Israel Gonzalez a couple of months ago on that doubleheader with Estrada, to return to the world championship level. He's a humble dude, spiritual dude. His identity as a boxer and his status as a boxer. I was in Dallas for his fight against Galahad, and man, I haven't heard a fighter talk about the importance of winning and competing and being a champion and being proud. I mean, we got people out there that want these fighters to be humble and, want these high character guys and, somebody you could leave your kids with or something. I mean, damn, man, I was sitting there, with my mouth or just really sitting back, like listening to this man's testimony was what I felt like I was taking in. So to see Estrada and Gonzalez on the calendar, man, like I said, if you're a boxing fan, man, you might have to expand your interest in this sport to get some real enjoyment out the sport. You might be killing the sport for yourself if you sit around focusing on 2 divisions, 1 division, 2 fighters, 1 fight. Like it's a lot more to the game for you to enjoy and to and to see some awesome performers and to learn some different stories and whatnot. So you can do it to yourself. Like I said, you can sit here and stay in your comfort zone and be mad. You can do all of that. But there are some nuggets out here for boxing from time to time that you would be doing yourself a service if you're truly interested in the sport. There's some fights here from time to time, and Juan Francisco Estrada and Chocolatito is the fight for you to sit back and watch some dudes going in. And they ain't even going in there. Well, that's a whole different video. Enjoy that, man. That's the first schedule of 2021. It's not exactly what we want. But you got to understand, man, until the right signs of improvement start to take place, the guidelines change for welcoming fans back to the to venues and whatnot. More states, till some of this stuff improves. None of these conversations for some of the bigger fights we want, none of them can even happen. And you got to understand also, when some of these top 2 or 3 fights can be made, they also affect like another 4 or 5 fighters, because all of those guys don't want to make a move until the door is truly closed on them getting the biggest fight of their life. So because the major fights are held up, there's only a handful of them. Like I said, there are other fighters standing around like, well, I ain't really saying yes to this COVID fight this fight behind closed doors. I'm not gonna take that fight right now because I don't think this big time fight is gonna happen. And I think I think I could get chosen. So again, gotta wait for some things to happen before big time boxing can really try to get back on track. But support some of these guys that are trying to give us something to enjoy, or go watch go watch whatever the UFC is doing. If that's the other reality. You don't want to get interested in the little guys in the small divisions and see some of these cats operate and root for them, or you don't want to mess with some of the UK stuff, and you don't want to mess with women's boxing. Option C, option D, door 4 might be to go over here and watch men roll around on each other, wrestling and whatnot. That's what you might have as an alternative or a solution. Hey, my name is Wood, man. Bite Down Boxing. Don't let them count you out. Pay me no mind, sports and entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great, man. I'm out. 1.